Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for, and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, the motion picture you're about to see contains scenes so terrifying, the public must be given grave warning.
Hello and good evening. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. There we go. Hello and good evening, and welcome to Shivers. I know it's the Bloody Binge movie podcast intro, but you were now listening to Shivers this week. Bloody Binge podcast will return next week. But welcome from a snowy Dayton, Ohio. It is snowing again. Like we got about 8 inches on Monday. I think between Sunday and Monday. And now we're due like another 2 or 3 inches today. So this sucks. Hello, Jenny. Hello, Jen. Hello, how you doing? But welcome everybody to Shivers. We're finally doing another episode. And this time, as was on the wheel before, we are doing the Cryptids of Kentucky, and let me tell you, there is some really interesting stuff in here this week. I didn't realize I had a feeling there was going to be a lot of things to cover in Kentucky. I didn't realize just how many. Sorry, I need to move my microphone a little closer. And just like how strange some of these things are. Definitely, we got some Bigfoot for you. We got the Pope Lake Monster. We got the Hopkinsville Goblins, which that story alone is worth sticking around for. But right now, we're gonna do what we normally do. I usually for Bloody Binge movie podcast, I usually do some horror movie news, some haunt news. Again, there's really not much in the haunt world going on. Like the only haunted house news or haunted attraction news I'm getting right now is just stuff coming out of Universal for their Dark World land that's going to open at their new park in Florida. Outside of that, there's really nothing else going on. But it's that time of year where nothing's really going on, except for the very few haunts that are getting ready to open for their Valentine's events, which is next month. But we're going to go ahead and do some paranormal and some, I guess you could call it stupid news. And there's some weird, as we all know, the world is kind of weird right now. People are angry. People are just being and doing dumb shit. And not only that, there's a lot of paranormal stuff going on. So we're going to do a little exploring of both. The paranormal news and the stupid news. So sit back, relax. If you're in Ohio or one of the many areas getting snow right now, grab some hot chocolate. Why not? enjoy yourself and stick around for the next couple hours, and we will. It's going to be interesting. It really, to me, it's going to be interesting. At least I think it is. But first, our first story comes from Colombia. Accused killer credits diabolical goblin with helping him evade capture. So, after being arrested for allegedly killing 2 people last year, a Colombian man surprised police when he explained that he managed to evade capture for months thanks to the help of a diabolical goblin. According to a local media report, the weird case came to light this week when authorities apprehended Kevin Orlando Arias Forero. I know I probably should have rolled my R there, but yeah. Who was wanted for the murder of 2 men in an incident that occurred back in April. The months-long search for the suspect culminated in a wild chase wherein he hit a police officer with his motorcycle before crashing and being taken into custody. Which is when cops noticed a curious doll in his possession. Upon questioning about the peculiar figure, Ferrero coolly replied, "He's the diabolical goblin who protected me." The accused killer went on to explain that he prayed to a sinister spirit that inhabits the doll every morning at 4 a.m., which is why it had taken authorities months to catch him. As for why he wound up behind bars this week, Ferrero lamented that he failed to do the ritual on that one particular morning, leading to the goblin rescinding its protection and causing him to be captured. The young man has been charged with 2 murder counts, as well as a litany of other crimes associated with his attempted getaway. The whereabouts of the doll are unknown, though cops may wish to keep it under lock and key, lest it helps facilitate any further trouble. Trying to see if... Give me 1 second. I'm trying to see if I don't think I saved this story, unfortunately, because I had a picture of the doll, but I don't think it's... Yeah, I do not have a picture of the doll, I don't believe. It's a weird looking thing. It's like green. It almost looks like an old German doll with like a green face. And it looks weird, but let me see, make sure I don't have this doll. And I do not, apparently. Unless it's been saved somewhere else. And it does not look like it's been saved anywhere else. Oh, well, the doll, like I said, the doll, it's weird looking doll. So apparently he prayed to this doll every morning, and it's supposed to be a possessed doll, like Annabelle or Robert the doll or something like that. And then it helped him get away from police. It could just be that he got lucky a lot. But you can believe, people believe what they want. Personally, I'm on the fence on that one. I really am. We do got a couple of more doll stories coming up. Here, let's go ahead and... Where's that? We'll do the other doll story real quick. It's on this side. Here it is. No Child's Play. Meet the world's most haunted doll, which has attacked 17 men. Can't show you this doll either because it's not supported. So this doll is No Child's Play. A delicate-looking antique doll has now gained infamy for reportedly attacking 17 men. The doll, which is reportedly possessed by the spirit of a vengeful bride named Elizabeth, has become the focal point of numerous paranormal incidents at the Haunted Objects Museum in Rotherham, South Yorkshire. This is in England, or the UK. if you were wondering. The doll, which has earned a notorious reputation as the most haunted in the world, is alleged to have attacked at least 17 men, some of whom reported sustaining physical injuries, according to the New York Post. Lee Steer, a 37-year-old paranormal investigator and the museum's owner, acquired the doll for £866 on eBay after learning of its supposed hostility towards men. During an investigation in the museum's bridal doll room, Steer himself became a target of the doll's alleged aggression, experiencing a burning sensation on his neck. Later, he discovered scratches on his back, which witnesses described as resembling a pentagram. It's always a pentagram. You guys ever notice that? You guys ever notice it's always a pentagram? It seems like the doll harbors a deep-seated hatred towards men, Steer remarked. More than 15 people have reportedly been scratched by it. All men, never a woman, he told the outlet. The doll's disturbing behavior is not limited to physical assaults. Steer claims that the doll has also triggered fire alarms, moved objects within the room, and caused electronic disturbances in video recordings. During one paranormal investigation, a perfume bottle was reportedly flung across the room, and the words "bride" and "haunting" mysteriously appeared in the video footage. Another paranormal investigator, Jean-Paul Kenny, 34, had a similarly unsettling experience with the doll while filming a TikTok live session in the museum. Kenny described feeling a sudden tug on his shirt as if someone had grabbed him from behind, despite being alone in the room with only his girlfriend and the doll. Kenny, are we sure that your girlfriend wouldn't get a little frisky there? I felt something grab my shirt and touch my skin, Kenny recalled. It was definitely the doll that did this to me. Kenny also mentioned an eerie sensation of seeing a bride in a white dress out of the corner of his eyes through the night. I wasn't scared, but it definitely made me uneasy, he admitted. The origins of the doll's apparent animosity towards men remain a mystery. Steers speculated that the spirit inhabiting the doll might have been mistreated by a man during life, you think, or that her wedding day ended in tragedy, causing her to haunt the bridal doll. Alternatively, Steer suggested that the doll's behavior might stem from jealousy, as the museum recently acquired famous artifacts from the horror film series The Conjuring. Okay, unless you got it from the real Conjuring house, it's really not going to be anything too serious, honestly. Because the other was just a movie. It's not even even the Annabelle. It's not the real Annabelle doll in there. It doesn't even look like the real Annabelle doll because the real Annabelle doll is an old Raggedy Ann doll. Sarah Carter, 32, Steer's partner, confirmed that the doll's malevolent actions are primarily directed towards men. The doll has moved objects in the room while I was present, but it has only scratched males, she explained. Due to her discomfort around the doll, Carter now avoids the bridal doll room entirely. So what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think this doll is really haunted with the angry spirit of a woman who hates men? Or is the wool being pulled over a bunch of eyes? The only one I'm going to have a problem believing is the guy who basically was doing TikToks. A TikTok live. I don't really believe any videos I see on TikTok. In all honesty. I do have my own TikTok. Let's not, don't get me wrong on that one. But anybody who makes a TikTok especially about stuff like that, it makes me think that, because if you don't get anything, if you're doing a TikTok, especially a paranormal TikTok or something or anything paranormal really when it comes to videos or social media, people aren't going to watch it if you don't get anything. So who's to say in a dark room with just the night vision on, like with just the night vision on, that I can just go, oh my gosh, somebody pulled my shirt. Oh no. And you're going to, and people, you kind of have to believe him because he's in the room. And there's a lot of people out there that basically simply go, why would he lie? It does, Jen. It does. It does sound iffy. It does. Only, like I said, only mostly because of the guy with the TikToks. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. Annabelle herself. I believe there's something with Annabelle. Whether it's demonic or anything like that, I do believe there's something with Annabelle. I believe in Robert the Doll. Excuse me. I believe in Robert the Doll. I believe in a lot of that stuff. I do believe, objects can be haunted. But, what do you call it? I'm trying to think I lost my train of thought here for a second. I believe objects can be haunted, especially toys, old toys, things like that. Let's not forget that they're freaking creepy. My wife's step grandmother had a room in her house they always called the doll room, and every time her kids came to town, they refused to sleep in this room because there was at least 500 dolls in I'm talking the old antique ceramic dolls in this room, and it was creepy as shit in that room. This one, no, I'm not. It's a very weird. I guess it's the circumstances. It's the circumstances that steer me away from believing whether this is true or not. So, moving on to our next story. Man claims alien abduction during alleged nude carjacking in Florida. This is our first trip. We got a couple of trips to Florida today. West Palm Beach, Florida, WPEC. Deputies say a West Palm Beach man was arrested nude after carving initials into a car and turning the knife on the owner in a New Year's Eve attempted carjacking. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office says they responded to a call for a man later identified as Jean-Rene Matthias, 34, damaging a car and attempting to steal the vehicle outside a home near the intersection of Willow Road and Riddle Road in West Palm Beach on New Year's Eve. Deputies say around 5:30 p.m., the witnesses saw Matthias use a large knife to carve his initials, symbols, and pictures into the exterior of the car. The owner of the car told deputies that when he came out, Matthias turned the knife on him and demanded the keys to the vehicle. When the victim backed away from Matthias, he reportedly moved towards him, prompting the victim to run into his home and lock the door. After the victim retreated to his home, Matthias continued to damage the car, puncture the tires per deputies. When deputies arrived at the scene, Matthias was completely naked in the driveway of the home, according to PBSO's criminal probable cause affidavit. The affidavit stated that Matthias told deputies he wanted to die because he was abducted by aliens. The owner of the car and witnesses say they know Matthias and have never seen him act this way. PBSO booked Matthias into Palm Beach County Jail on counts of attempted carjacking with a weapon and criminal mischief over $1,000. During a court hearing on Friday, the judge signed an order for house arrest and ordered that he undergo a mental health evaluation before being released from custody. You know, one time I want to see the police believe him. Believe the guy who carjacked somebody at knife point, fully naked. I want the police to believe him and go, okay, where are the aliens? Because what if it is aliens? It's still funny as hell that you know, or not really funny. I mean, I know it's got to suck to be the guy whose car the guy messed up, but it's Florida, so I think we can agree that there's going to be alcohol or drugs involved. So yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else on this story to really talk about. The facts are there. It's not really a believe it or not. But I mean, do we believe? I mean, come on, guys. Do we believe that aliens are involved in this? That he got abducted by aliens, and then all of a sudden turned around, you know, got dropped back on Earth, and the first thing he decided to do was grab a knife, take off all his clothes, grab a knife, and start attacking some random car? Or do we believe drugs are involved? That's the real question. But moving on, French-Swiss archaeology team discovers a stunning tomb of renowned wizard doctor in Egypt. Okay, after the past 4-5 years, I think everyone will agree with me when I look these people in the eye and say, put it back. Put it back. Don't be touching that shit. Put it back. Hold on. Let me say real quick about this guy. Because I believe that's why I downloaded this. I think that's the guy. That's Matthias there. That's his mugshot at least. He didn't. I mean, if that's the mugshot from the night, he doesn't look like he's that strung out in that picture. But again, that could just be an old mugshot or anything, you know. But yeah, but moving on. Repeat myself. French-Swiss archaeology team discovers a stunning tomb. Okay, for starters, don't be fucking with a tomb of renowned wizard doctor in Egypt. Yes, no touchy. Put it back. Put it back. Put it back. The remarkable discovery was made in, and I'm gonna butcher this name, I believe it's Saqqara, a burial site for high-ranking officials of ancient Egypt's Old Kingdom. In a spellbinding discovery, a French-Swiss team this is a badly written article. A French-Swiss archaeological team in Egypt has uncovered the tomb of a multi-talented wizard doctor. Again, it's a wizard. Wizard doctor? You definitely know touchy wizard doctor. Put it back. Who served the pharaohs approximately 4,000 years ago. Inscriptions on the tomb identify its owner as Tatina Bufu. Hold on, let me see if I can. I'm going to try to write this where you guys can see it. Copy. Huh. Okay, that's what it did. It did. Okay, that's why. That's why it shows Raz's page on here, is because I typed it in the chat and it all three popped up. But Tatine Bafu, I'm not Egyptian. I don't know how to speak Egyptian, but that is the name of the owner of the tomb. A celebrated physician during the reign of King Pepe, the second of the 6th dynasty, which spanned roughly between 2305 BC to 2118 BC, which we don't call it BC anymore, I thought. Could have sworn we do not call it BC anymore. The inscription suggests that guy held a complete series of titles, including Chief Doctor of the Palace, Priest, and Magician of the Goddess Serket. The tomb is adorned with stunning carvings and vibrant artwork, including a beautifully painted false door and scenes of funerary offerings. The Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities said in a statement, the team behind the archaeological mission, working in the southern section of Saqqara, since 2022 located the tomb in a cluster of burial sites for senior statesmen and royal employees. The tomb had been almost completely ransacked before its discovery, and no human remains were found. That might be a positive. That might be a positive, because that means whoever's going to get that curse, I think they've already got the curse. According to Philippe Colombert, the leader of the French-Swiss team. As a priest magician of Serket, the goddess associated with protection against venomous creatures, Tatin Bafu would have likely specialized in treating snake and scorpion bites. Unusually, his other roles included royal dentist, a title that is rarely seen in discoveries from ancient Egypt. Saqqara is a vast necropolis of the Egyptian capital, Memphis, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is home to more than a dozen pyramids, including the famous Giza pyramids, as well as smaller pyramids at Abu Sur, Dashur, and Abu Rawash. This incredible find adds to Saqqara's rich legacy as one of Egypt's most significant archaeological sites, says the ministry. Don't touch. Don't touch. But like I said, if anything's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong for the people who ransacked it, apparently stole the body. Unless the body's walking among us right now as a mummy. God, it is still snowing outside. Unless it's already, running around, torturing people, all that good stuff. But, yeah, people already stole from it. So it's been a site that people knew about before, I guess. But again, stop touching. Stop it. Moving on, we're going. Yes, don't touch. Don't touch. Especially if it's a freaking wizard. If it's a wizard minister or wizard priest, don't touch. Like, literally, have you guys not seen Indiana Jones? Jesus. Australian police have released a CCTV footage video of a bungling arsonist who set their own pants alight and had to hotfoot it from the scene without them. Footage of the attack on a fast food outlet in the southern city of Melbourne showed two people in dark hoodies and trousers with a container of what police described as flammable liquid. One of them tried to set the fluid alight at the front of the outlet, just out of view of the camera. In an instant, the arsonist is seen again engulfed in flames and then hurriedly removing the burning trousers before running off bare-cheeked, bare-assed, with an apparently unharmed accomplice. Boom. Here you go, guys. That's an image from the video. Victoria State Police, who distributed the footage on Thursday, asked for witnesses to the attack, which happened in the early hours of Christmas morning. Investigators have released CCTV and images of two people they believe may be able to assist with their inquiries. they said in a statement. That guy told one hell of a whopper. Like, and as you can see that the thing itself is still on fire. Like, the restaurant is still on fire. Look at the bottom, like, right corner of it. But he just happened to set himself on fire as well. Like, how dumb can you? Gotta be pretty dumb for that one. All right, what are we looking at? We're only at 30 minutes. We'll go another 30 minutes real quick, and then we'll take our break and come back for the what do you call it? Cryptids of Kentucky. Let me see if I can find. I got a bunch of stories out. Let me see which. Okay, here's an interesting one. Woman who married a rag doll announces she's pregnant with her 4th child. Okay, this is in, I believe, Brazil. I am not Portuguese. I do not speak Portuguese, so I apologize ahead of time if I butcher these names. Or at least her name. Marivone Rocha Moraes, 37, who is married to a rag doll, has a growing family of dolls. Announced she is pregnant with her 4th child in a bizarre new TikTok video. A woman who married a rag doll in a bizarre ceremony has announced she is pregnant with her 4th child. Moraes claims she has been experiencing morning sickness and cravings for ketchup before taking to TikTok to update her 734,000 followers about her new pregnancy. You know, this is why they're getting rid of TikTok, because of stupid shit like this. Why does she have 734,000 followers? Yeah. Yeah, this is a strange one. This is a strange one, Jen. But how does this woman have 734,000 followers? The 37-year-old previously revealed that she had welcomed twins with her husband Marcelo, a life-size ragdoll, in December of 2023. Now, just over 1 year later, a 4th child is set to join her growing family, which already includes 2-year-old ragdoll Marcelino and her twin daughters named Marcella and Emilia. Her mom, Donna Filo, had recently suggested that she take a pregnancy test after she described her symptoms. This can't be serious, right? This cannot be serious. Marivone from Brazil filmed the moment to share with viewers in the video, which has 70,000 views. She can be seen dipping the test into a small cup of urine. She waits before discovering that the test is positive and then proceeds to jump with joy, immediately grabbing Marcelo to tell him the news. Oh, good. Who wants to see her husband? There you go. There's her husband on their wedding day. Why are there people at the wedding? It's impossible to imagine that a 4th is coming. I'm sorry. The surprise was huge because the twins being 1 year old and there are 3 babies at home. It's impossible to imagine that a 4th is coming. I won't lie, I thought I wouldn't have any more children, especially since the twins came as a surprise. It was almost supposed to be just 1. The news came as a shock to Marivone, who married Marcelo in 2018. She said that she uses contraception, including the pill and condoms, but claims doctors told her she is extremely fertile. Hold on. Hold on. Well, look. There's their beach vacation. Where are his eyes looking? Where are his eyes looking? Reflecting on the new addition to the family, she said, "I'm really scared of having twins or triplets again one day. Despite everything, we will love our new baby very much. Marcelo has already said the opposite. I didn't want another child. We did everything right. He's going to have to get another job now, and he doesn't know how he'll be able to afford all these babies." This is a fucking joke, right? Like, this can't be serious. Viewers were quick to comment on the announcement, with many in total disbelief. One person wrote, "It's not possible, man," while another said, he must have been emotional to be a father again. My goodness, one more," added a third commenter, while a different user joked, "Marcelo gets busy." Again, this can't be real, right, guys? This can't be this woman can't be serious. Like, she just can't be serious. All right, hold on. So, okay, I gotta ask, guys, who genuinely believes that this woman? Do you guys think she genuinely believes this is a real person, or are you guys gonna be like, are you guys like me and basically know she's doing this for the TikTok? Like, there's no way she believes this is real, and that she isn't making the babies herself. That yeah, it is. It is. So again, it's this is why they're getting rid of TikTok. Shit like this. People make stuff up like this all the time just to get the money that TikTok pays out if you get so many views. It has to be. Like, and again, we'll take it with a grain of salt too, because it is being reported by the Mirror, the UK Mirror, so which is like America's National Enquirer. I don't know how many of you guys remember those old tabloid magazines that used to sit up front at the grocery stores. I think they still do. I don't ever pay attention. My favorite was always Weekly World News, because you know that shit wasn't real. But you still grabbed it, you still watched it. Moving on, we're going to go to Maryland, where a Maryland man was arrested and charged with several offenses stemming from disruptions at two Catholic churches on Christmas Eve, including one disruption in which he was accused of pouring liquor into a container of holy water. The man, identified as a 56-year-old from St. Mary's County, had first visited the Holy Angels Catholic Church in Avenue, Maryland, during a religious service on Tuesday evening, according to the St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office. There, he approached the altar and dropped an onion in the aisle, disturbing the peace of those attending. A person then ushered the man outside, where the suspect began pelting this person with tangerines. according to the sheriff's office. Later that same night, at a midnight mass at the St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church in Leonardtown, the same suspect is accused of pouring whiskey into the holy water and threatening parishioners who tried to intervene. While being escorted from the building, he then attempted to strike church attendees with the whiskey bottle, albeit unsuccessfully, deputies said. The suspect was transported to a hospital for evaluation before being arrested on December 26th and booked into St. Mary's County Detention and Rehabilitation Center. He's been charged with second-degree assault, disorderly conduct, defacing religious property, obstructing a religious service, committing a religious crime against a group, threatening mass violence, and disturbing the peace. Man, they got everything on this guy. As of Thursday, the suspect was awaiting an appearance before a Maryland judicial official, the SMCSO said. Now, this was posted back in December, so he's probably out by now. Unless they're making him do like the psychic evals. But yeah, imagine you're sitting in church. I don't know how many Catholics we have in here. I grew up Catholic, reason I know. And in my Catholic church, they used to do we used to have like a choir concert before the midnight mass, where the main attraction of the choir concert would be at the very end, where one of their better singers would sing "O Holy Night" in English, and then the second verse in Latin. So imagine you're just sitting there, you're watching the service. Dude just walks in, you're at the first church. He just drops an onion in the middle of the aisle for no fucking reason whatsoever. Walks up, causes an issue. People start trying to escort him out, and he starts throwing tangerines at them. So he leaves, finds another church at midnight, and apparently he has it out for the Catholics. Walks up to where the holy water is and just pours a bottle of Jack. God, I hope it's Jack. I hope it ain't nothing. I hope it wasn't an expensive whiskey. But just pours a bottle of whiskey into the holy water. That's gonna be some fun holy water. But and you're just sitting here trying to worship, if you're a kid, you're trying to just get through the night because Santa's coming and you want your presents. And dude just walks in and just fucks everything up. But he's probably not. He's probably still in jail. The likelihood is he's probably got out by now. But moving on to, we'll go back to Florida. I haven't really fully read this story, but this is just like the headline itself kind of got me. 2 men in Florida found out the hard way that when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, after these stupid grown men shot each other's daughters. It's been described as a crazy road rage incident, but that might be putting what they did too mildly. William Joseph Hale, 35, when was this? This was posted on the 7th, so Tuesday. William Joseph Hale, 35, and Frank Gilliard Allison, 43, were both driving northbound along Highway 1 just outside of Jacksonville, Florida, on a Saturday evening when all hell seemingly broke loose. Even though both men had their families in tow, they began to engage in what a witness described as a game of cat and mouse, as each dangerously attempted to gain one-upsmanship over the other during a high-speed chase after arguing with each other on the road while driving aggressively, the Huffington Post reported. According to police, William Joseph Hale, who was driving a black Dodge truck, it's always a black pickup truck, and Frank Gilliard Allison, who was behind the wheel of a Nissan Murano, both began speeding and driving recklessly while also occasionally brake checking each other, the Blaze reported. Things got so tense, according to a witness, that he knew something bad was going to happen. He was right. With both men operating their vehicles in a way that endangered themselves and others, things quickly went from bad to worse. Witnesses said that at some point during the incident, William Hale began to signal for Frank Allison to pull over. In response, Frank Allison's wife, Jessica, allegedly rolled down the passenger window of their Nissan to give the truck, driven by William Hale, the middle finger. At that point, someone in Hale's truck reportedly seized the opportunity to throw a water bottle into the Nissan, escalating the situation. Things then turned even more violent as Frank Allison reportedly grabbed his Sig Sauer 45 caliber automatic handgun and fired one shot at the other truck before driving away at a high rate of speed, according to Nassau County Sheriff Bill Leeper. The bullet fired from Allison's pistol entered the right rear passenger door of Hale's truck, immediately tragically striking the man's 5-year-old daughter in the leg. Sadly, things didn't end there. After realizing his daughter had been shot, Hale allegedly returned fire, emptying everything that was in the magazine of his Glock 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Hale admitted that he fired 7 or 8 rounds at the Nissan, with at least 3 of those rounds hitting Allison's vehicle, police said. Unfortunately, one of those rounds struck Allison's 14-year-old daughter in the back, causing a collapsed lung. After having shot each other's daughters, the two drivers then reportedly spotted a police cruiser and decided to pull over. Rather than letting cooler heads prevail, however, the pair began fighting one another. A deputy separated the duo before they were both eventually placed under arrest. Both Hale and Allison were booked into the Nassau County Detention Facility and charged with second-degree felony attempted murder for their part in the road rage incident turned violent. Both girls were taken by fire and rescue units to be treated for non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. Allison's 14-year-old daughter was taken to the University of Florida Health downtown with a collapsed lung. It is also reported that both wives had, at some point, spoken to 911 operators during the incident. Both men were released on $150,000 bond. Police do not believe the men or their families knew one another prior to the incident. Unsurprisingly, their shocking behavior has been strongly ridiculed by law enforcement, with officers concluding in each of the arrest reports that their act was imminently dangerous and demonstrated a depraved mind without regard for human life. Nassau County Sheriff Bill Leeper echoed similar sentiments. What's scarier than one crazy driver with a gun? 2 crazy drivers with a gun, the shock sheriff quipped, according to the New York Post. Thankfully, no one was killed in this incident, but it could have very easily turned out that way because 2 people were acting stupid and let their tempers get the best of them, he continued. There could have been 2 dead kids because of 2 stupid grown men. Saying the road rage incident made him think of the movie Dumb and Dumber, the sheriff said he questioned how stupid 2 people could be to endanger their children not only by driving recklessly, but by shooting a gun at another vehicle while engaged in a road rage incident is just insane. The sheriff is right, but this isn't just stupidity, it's selfish immaturity as well. And the last part of the article is just going into a lecture about how we as parents need to be better. Let me show you the guys and you'll understand. Let me see. I think there's a picture of their. Nope. All right. Hold on. Boop. let's see. Share screen. That's why. That's what they look like, guys. I can't get any closer. That's what they look like. They look exactly as you thought they would look like. Like, this is the dumbest. And it's always a black pick. What happens in a black pickup truck that makes people go crazy like this? You know, I'm sorry. Yeah, I want now I want to go. I would want to go defend my child. You know, I'd want to go beat the shit out of somebody who hurt my child. Don't get me wrong. After I get my child help, medical, anything. If you hurt my child, I'm going to go get him help first. As long as he's okay, I'm coming. I'm going to put a foot in your ass. That's just how it is. But my kid is going to be taken care of first. But now, because these two idiots lost their tempers, got into road rage, and then decided, hey, you know what? I got a gun in the back. First off, if you're going to own a gun, you need to use it responsibly. Just like drinking. Drink responsibly. Use a gun responsibly. Don't just fucking shoot it while you're not a fucking action star. You're not a badass. Stop shooting a gun out of a moving car. I hate to break it to you. Police don't even do that when they're chasing suspects. Just don't. But all right, guys, we've been going for about 52 minutes. We're going to go ahead and take our break real quick. And when we come back, we are going to deep dive into the Cryptids of Kentucky. Also, don't forget, next week, the Bloody Binge comes back with Igor and the Lunatics. So, get ready. Exactly. Big murder kitty on the porch, yes. Other stupid people in traffic, no. It's that easy, and you shouldn't have to explain to people, hey, you know how you're driving 70 miles an hour down the road and that freaking blue SUV just cut you off? Guess what? It's not that big of a fucking deal. Let him go. But all right, guys, like I said, we're going to go ahead and take our break real quick. When we come back, we are going to dive into the Cryptids of Kentucky. Back in a moment.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductopus, we explore a range of retro goodness business, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Octopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
And just like that, we're back. Welcome, everybody, to Shivers. I am your host, Sewer Dweller, and we are going all the way. Well, not that far from me. It's the next state south. We're going to the Bluegrass state of Kentucky, and we are going to investigate the Cryptids of Kentucky. There are many, many stories in this state. Even going through and looking up and researching the cryptids for this month's stories, I discovered a bunch of haunts in Louisville that I really want to go check out. So, very good chance I might once maybe after the winter, probably. I'm not gonna lie, once the weather gets better, or at least till it stops snowing. That might be a thing we do. I do want to apologize also ahead of time. I am using my new microphone again, so you're probably hearing a lot more like background noise, and I got to get a filter for this thing. But you're also hearing me move around in my chair a lot. That is because at the beginning of the week, I kind of messed my back up shoveling snow to the point where for about 2 days there, I couldn't walk. So I've pretty much been down most of this week, laying on my back in bed, just trying to get it to go back to where it needs to go. I'm doing okay now, but it's been hurting it's been hurting most of the week. So I do apologize if I'm moving around too much and you guys can hear it. I will do my best not to. Like I said, I'm trying. I got to go get me a filter for this. Because I know you guys could probably hear a lot of the cars going by outside, and hopefully you can't hear the kids' game in the next room. But the Cryptids of Kentucky, like I said, it was very fun to do this one. So far, in case you haven't followed the rest of the series, we've done Ohio, we've done Vermont, and now we are doing Kentucky. My plan is to go to all 50 states, maybe even the territories, but at least all 50 states. I have a random wheel generator that I use to decide what state we're going to go to next. That's how I'm going to do it, because I could have just went in alphabetical order, but I think that's boring, so we're jumping around to different states. If you're interested in listening to or checking out the other episodes that we've done in Ohio and in Vermont, feel free to look up the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast on YouTube or the Owlite Network. You can always go to the Owlite Network's YouTube page, and I believe Jen has loaded them all up on there. So I don't know if you've ever been to Kentucky. Kentucky is it is a gorgeous state. It's beautiful. I've driven through there a bunch of times. We go every year. Me, the wife, the kid, her mom, and her kid. We go down they have this in Louisville every March, right around spring break. They have this really big trucking convention. Your basically semi trucks, and it's like not really a convention, but it's like a trade show kind of. And her mom and her stepfather used to be when he was alive was in the trucking industry. Her mom is still a I'll get them to you. I'll get them to you. The what do you call it? What I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's a semi truck convention. You go basically and trade show like basically when you go down there's a lot of people selling different kinds of insurance for big rigs, different kinds of map GPS systems, braking systems like truck parts and things like that. We go every year. It's in Louisville and it's freaking huge. Of course, Kentucky is home to the Kentucky Derby every year. Is that in Louisville too, or is that in Lexington? I think that's in Lexington. But the state basically starts right at the top. In the northern part, it has the Ohio River running as the border. In the south, of course, you have it's bordered by Tennessee. Indiana borders it. Trying to remember. I think Virginia borders it too at some point. The Appalachian Mountains run up the east side of the state. And again, if you haven't driven through Kentucky, you're robbing yourself. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful drive. We drive through there. Like I said, we visit there once a year for that, and then we drive through to go to Tennessee. We go down to Gatlinburg. We haven't been down to Gatlinburg like almost 5 years, but when we do that, we of course drive there, and it's just a beautiful state in general. But Kentucky, officially the Commonwealth of Kentucky, is a landlocked state in the southeastern region of the United States, and it borders Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio to the north, West Virginia to the northeast, Virginia to the east, Tennessee to the south, and Missouri to the west. Its northern border is defined by the Ohio River, and its capital is Frankfort, and its most populous city is Louisville. As of 2024, the state's population is approximately at 4.6 million. Almost sound like somebody's knocking at my door, and they better not be. Previously part of Virginia, Kentucky was admitted to the Union as the 15th state on June 1st, 1792. It is known as the Bluegrass State in reference to Kentucky bluegrass, a species of grass introduced by European settlers, which has long supported the state's thoroughbred horse industry. The fertile soil in the central and western parts of the state led to the development of large tobacco plantations similar to those in Virginia and North Carolina, which utilized enslaved labor prior to the passage of the 13th Amendment. Kentucky ranks 5th nationally in goat farming, 8th in beef cattle production, and 14th in corn production. While Kentucky has been a long-standing center for the tobacco industry, its economy has diversified into non-agricultural sectors, including auto manufacturing, energy production, and medicine. As usual, they all started as Native American settlement. Every state, of course, started as a Native American settlement and then moved on to become states in that. In about the 10th century, the Kentucky Native people's variety of corn became highly productive, supplanting the Eastern agricultural complex and replacing it with maize-based agriculture in the Mississippian era. As of the 16th century, what became Kentucky was home to tribes from diverse linguistic groups. The Kispoco, an Algonquin-speaking tribe, controlled most of the interior of the state. French explorers in the 17th century documented numerous tribes living in Kentucky until the Beaver Wars in the 1670s. I'm really interested in that now. However, by the time the European colonial explorers and settlers began entering Kentucky, in greater numbers in the mid 18th century, there were no major Native American settlement in the region. The Chickasaw had territory up to the confluence of Mississippi and Ohio rivers during a period known as the Beaver Wars from 1640 to 1680. Wow, that lasted 40 years. Another Algonquin tribe called the Maumee or the Mascouten was chased out of southern Michigan. Yeah, we had Maumee here too. The vast majority of them moved to Kentucky, pushing the Kispoco east, and war broke out with the Tutelo of North Carolina and Virginia that pushed them further north and east. The Maumee were closely related to the Miami from Indiana. Later, the Kispoco merged with the Shawnee, who migrated from the east and the Ohio River Valley. So yeah, that's a lot. I mean, we're not going to go through everything, but that's a little bit of the history in Kentucky. And when there's a lot of Native American history too, there's also, of course, a lot of cryptids, a lot of hauntings and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first cryptid is going to be one of the most famous cryptids in Kentucky, the Pope Lick Monster. So the Pope Lick Monster is more commonly, colloquially known as the Goat Man. He's a legendary part man, part goat, part sheep creature, reported to live beneath a railroad trestle bridge over Pope Lick Creek in the Fisherville neighborhood of Louisville, Kentucky. The train trestle was built in the late 19th century and is owned by the Norfolk Southern Railway. Yes, guys, I'm from Norfolk, Virginia. It's Norfolk, Virginia, not Norfolk. So it is owned by the Norfolk Southern Railway. It passes over Pope Lick Creek and South Pope Lick Road at the edge of the Rowley-Peterson Educational Forest in eastern Louisville. At its highest, the 772-foot long trestle is a deadly 90 feet above the ground. It looks abandoned and rickety, but some 24 freight trains cross it each day. That would be absolutely terrifying. The Pope Lick Monster is said to live under the trestle like the troll in the Three Billy Goats Gruff fairy tale. It's often depicted by artists as a bipedal, furry humanoid with a goat's face and curving ram's horns. But the trestle isn't just the home of the Pope Lick Monster. It's also the monster's murder weapon. Numerous urban legends exist about the creature's origins and the methods it employs to claim its victims. According to some accounts, the creature uses either hypnosis or voice mimicry to lure trespassers onto the trestle. Once the victim finds themselves trapped atop the vertiginous bridge, they are killed by either by oncoming trains or by the long drop to the ground below. Other stories claim the monster jumps down from the trestle onto the roofs of passing cars beneath it. Yet other legends tell that it attacks its victims with a blood-stained axe, and that the very sight of the creature is so unsettling that those who see it while walking across the high trestle are driven to leap off. The earliest mention of the Pope Lick trestle can be found in an article from the Courier Journal in December of 1909. This particular article contains no mention of a legend or a monster. Instead, it announces a train wreck caused by a broken brake beam. But the thing about this monster is that even though it may only exist in the realm of urban legend, it has caused real deaths. Every couple of years, somebody dies on that bridge. Trains are often unable to stop in time, and anybody who finds themselves on the track at the wrong moment will have nowhere to go but under the wheels of a train or off the side of the bridge. Tragically, these deaths are often of people who went atop the bridge to look for the Poplick monster, making them actual victims of the creature. The last victim on record died in May of 2019. Two teenage girls, 15 and 16, were on the tracks when a train crossed. One was killed immediately, and the other survived after being taken to the hospital in critical condition. But another death 3 years earlier was more directly connected to the Poplick monster. In April of 2016, two Ohio tourists, 26-year-old Raquel Bain and her boyfriend, 41-year-old David Nee, were on their way to Waverly Hills Sanitarium in Louisville. Coming to Shivers later on. Before heading to the asylum, they decided to check out the infamous Poplick Monster Bridge when the train came speeding across the trestle. Bain was hit by the train and fell to her death, while Nee was able to survive by wrapping his arms and legs around the edge of the bridge. He was barely able to hold on as the structure vibrated violently. So yeah, that's basically there are recorded deaths because of the Poplick monster, only because people go out to look for it and for some reason feel the need to climb the trestle. I don't know if they don't realize that it is still an active trestle. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. Once again, I must reiterate, if you're going exploring, paranormal investigating, Bigfoot hunting, Poplick monster hunting, any kind of hunting like that, please take somebody with you. Please make sure you have a working form of communication. So there's there's a few different origins to it. One of the more interesting ones that I found was taken from LouisvilleHalloween.com. And the origin of the story is that the Poplick monster is a freak. Like from the circus. So the story begins with a man who calls himself Colonel Beauregard Shilneck. Although there is no record of evidence that he ever served in any regiment of the armed services or military or militia, Colonel Shilneck was the owner and ringmaster of a traveling circus that performed across the American heartland of the heartland of America and into the deep South territories beginning in the early 1930s. Shilneck's reputation was one of ill repute in the carnival business, and he was considered a liar, a cheat, and an all-around charlatan. His crew of carnies and circus clowns were more of a gang of cutthroats and pirates than sideshow entertainers, and every town they visited left behind a series of unsolved thefts, missing persons, and grisly accidental deaths. One thunderously stormy night, while stopped in a small town near Beltsville, Maryland, the circus's bearded lady, Madame Bristol, discovered an abandoned infant left in a baby-filled crate outside of her tent. The child was severely malformed, with stubs protruding from its forehead and misshapen legs that ended in what looked more like cloven hooves than human feet. She took the poor creature in and gave it food and shelter. One look at the twisted abomination, and Colonel Shilneck knew that he had struck gold. He had found the starring attraction for his freak show that would make him rich beyond his wildest dreams. He took the child and raised it in captivity, never letting it out of his sight or its cage until it could be fully exploited for its grotesque appearance. The beast grew in size and strength over the years. Its stubs became full-sized horns, and its temperament as nasty as the treatment given to it by the cruel circus carnies charged with keeping it imprisoned. It spent most of its life chained to the wall of a cage inside a circus train, whipped brutally daily and keep it subdued and submissive, and fed only gruel and leftover scraps from the Midway vendors' grease pits. One fateful night during a thunderstorm as violent as the one on the night of its birth, the circus train was passing through Fisherville on its way to a performance in Louisville, Kentucky, when a bolt of lightning struck the tracks, causing the train to derail just ahead of the trestle over Pope Lick Creek. The twisted wreck probably killed most of Shilneck's crew instantly, but not all of them, since body parts were found as far as 2 miles away from the crash site. What is known for a fact is that the Goat Man survived the tragic train wreck, finally set free from its life of torture, exploitation, and imprisonment, and it took revenge on the survivors by ripping them to bloody shreds. Colonel Shilneck's body was never found, and it is suspected that a few of his cutthroat crew of clowns, circus freaks, and dangerous animals also may have survived the deadly accident, but were never found. Due to the number of deaths, missing persons, deer and livestock mutilations, and Goatman sightings that have been reported in the ensuing years, there is good reason to believe that the Goatman of Pope Lake never left the area. He is believed to have taken up residence in either an underground cave or ramshackle hut somewhere in the wooded area near the train trestle. His inbred hate of cruel humanity has made him a bloodthirsty and dangerous beast to be avoided at all costs. Those that dare trespass into his domain have met their fate at his hands. The Courier Journal records at least 2 confirmed deaths in 1987 and 1988, and many injuries and close calls attributed to the Pope Lick monster and his protected trestle. The trestle rises 90 feet above Pope Lick Creek and stretches 772 feet across to the other side. Although incapable of human speech, the Goatman is said to be able to mimic human voices and has been known to call out the names of those who have climbed to the top of the trestle in order to lure them out onto the tracks just as an oncoming train is coming around the bend to seal their doom. On weekend nights during the month of October, and especially during the cycle of the full moon, the Goatman is said to be most active in the woods and hills surrounding the Pope Lick trestle. Those who have attempted to drive beneath the trestle at the stroke of midnight have reported being chased by the beast, who can run at speeds of nearly 60 miles per hour. And more than one report has claimed loss of their car door handle or bloody claw prints left on their car door after the pursuit. In the mid-1970s, rumors of a satanic cult and demonic ritual began circulating in the same area along Pope Lick Road, and reports of missing dogs, cats, and other domestic animals were suspected of falling prey to satanic blood ceremonies. A mysterious farm known as the Four Winds down the street a few miles from the train trestle was suspected of being owned by a group of Satanists who worshiped the Pope Lick monster as the living embodiment of Baphomet, the goat of Mendez himself, a mocking of the image of the Lamb as the embodiment of Christ who died for the sins of humanity. The Four Winds farm was surrounded by a red and black painted fence through the 1980s and into the 90s, when a sign at the front gate warning trespassers will be prosecuted. Strange tribal drum beats and chanting were often heard in the woods behind the farm's barn. Another potential danger in the area is the group of angry farmers and residents who constantly suffer in fear of the monster's attacks on their livestock and families. Some of these residents should be considered armed and dangerous and might not take kindly to anyone or anything lurking about their area after dark. There have been no reported sightings of the monster, leading many to believe that he is an urban legend. However, many people have been killed exploring the trestle, which is still active to this day. So, the Pope Lick monster is basically it's Goat Man. That's the best way to put it. It's a Goat Man. So if you believe in it or not, I mean, the whole freak story, the story that I read with Colonel Shelnick and that doesn't hold water to me. It really doesn't. If anything's out there, it may be not a mutant, but I guess a freak. With some genetic deformities or something like that. The real danger out there is the trestle itself. One, you should never, ever, 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 ever climb a train trestle, especially one that's 90 feet in the air and so far ahead that you would never be able to outrun the train. And on top of that, the train can't stop. The trains don't stop on a dime. So that I think holds the most important thing here is the the train trestle. That should be definitely not messed with, in all honesty. I mean, that's really all I have for the Pope Lick monster. Is that I think I don't know if they have festivals like they do, like the Frogman here or anything like that. But at the end of the day, just go visit the trestle, stay off the trestle. But that is the tragic story of the Pope Lick monster. Moving on to our next cryptid. This is not a long one. This is also one that's you're gonna have to. We'll see. We'll see what everybody thinks about it. Bearilla. Welcome in, Pile. I can't wait for Wednesday either. For those who don't know, I'll be on Chainers this week with Pile and Friday and possibly Raz. I'm not 100% sure on that one. So make sure you tune in, and I guess I get to talk about my haunt life. But Bearilla is a relatively new cryptid, and very little is known about it. I was barely able to find anything on this one. They are mostly spotted in the northern states and Canada and goes by several regional names such as the Michigan Dogman or the Beast of Bray Road. In Kentucky, they are known as Bearillas. The first sighting of these creatures to go public occurred in Nicholas County in 1972. The elderly gentleman who reported it described it as half bear, half gorilla. Thus, it became known as the Bearilla. The creature is a biped creature that stands roughly 6 feet tall. It is covered in fur and usually light colored. It has a canine type face with a very pronounced snout and teeth and it is also often referred to as a werewolf. Well, because you're really describing a werewolf. This is true, but there's also, I don't know if you guys know it, I don't know if you noticed or not, Pile, but there is a movie called Hogzilla out there starring Joe Bob Briggs that is funny as hell. In fact, another name it is known by in Kentucky is the Gateway Werewolf. The creature is sometimes referred to as a dog-faced Bigfoot, but make no mistake, this entity is by no means a Bigfoot. It's not a Bigfoot. At most, it might be a dog man, but a Bigfoot, no, it's not a Bigfoot. Bigfoot is normally docile, whereas this creature does have an aggressive streak. This article, I mean, I am reading out of an article, guys, just to give you a heads up. I think Bigfoot can be docile for the most part, but I also believe that if you encroach on his territory, he gets very violent and very angry. Just like any other wild animal would. But there have been 3 instances of aggressive behavior by this cryptid. 2 of these resulted in physical injury, one of which had to be treated at a local hospital. The victim was treated for severe scratches on the back and shock. So yeah, I have nothing on the sightings or anything like that. It was actually very hard to find any kind of information on Bearilla, outside of what I just read you. So Bearilla sounds like a dog man, werewolf. If you believe in if you believe in werewolves, I lean more towards a dog man, if anything. But again, we'll see if it. I wish I could find more information on Bearilla. I just really, really can't. So we're gonna move on. This is actually a very interesting story. The Hopkinsville Goblin. This story, I don't know how many. I mean, I guess there's been sightings and things like that over the years, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of the Hopkinsville Goblins can be explained. Like a lot of it's weird and that, but I think a lot of the Hopkinsville Goblin can be explained. And we'll see. Get a sip of water real quick. This is going to be a long story. So let's get into the Hopkinsville Goblin. The story begins in part on the night of August 21st, 1955, when a large extended farm family called the Suttons arrived breathlessly at the Hopkinsville police station in southwestern Kentucky. Their story of a terrifying siege by otherworldly beings would become one of the most detailed and baffling accounts of an alien close encounter on record. Notable for the large number of witnesses, nearly a dozen, the duration of the encounter, several hours, and the close proximity between the witnesses and creatures. The incident quickly became regional and even national news. So the alleged encounter occurred on the Sutton's farm in the tiny rural hamlet of Kelly, Kentucky, where the family lived in an unpainted 3-room house without running water, telephone, radio, TV, or books. Of all the details of their story, the UFO landing and the appearance of small alien creatures, one fact is indisputable. When the 8 adults and 3 children arrived at the nearby Hopkinsville police station at about 11 p.m., they were genuinely terror-struck. Those aren't the kind of people who normally run to the police for help, Police Chief Russell Greenwell later told investigators. What they do is reach for their guns. Yet here they were, women and children, hysterical, and one man with a pulse of 140 beats per minute, measured by an investigator. Why did they show up in the middle of the night at a police station? Well, according to accounts given to the police, at about 7 p.m. on the hot Sunday evening, Sutton family friend Billy Ray Taylor was fetching water from the backyard well when he saw a silvery object, real bright with an exhaust of all the colors of the rainbow. As he later recounted, it came slowly toward the house, passed over it, stopped in the air, and then dropped straight to the ground. Taylor, 21, and his 18-year-old wife had come from Pennsylvania to visit Lucky Sutton, with whom he had worked on a traveling carnival. The Suttons, 50-year-old widow and matriarch Glennie Langford, and their 2 older sons and their wives, a brother-in-law, and the widow's 3 younger children, 12, 10, and 7, didn't take Billy Ray seriously, laughing off his UFO account. An hour later, alerted by the dog's incessant barking, Lucky and Billy Ray went to the back door and made out a strange glow in the midst of which they spied a small humanoid creature, about 3.5 feet tall. It had an oversized head, almost perfectly round. Its arms extended to the ground. Hands had talons, and eyes glowed with a yellowish light. The body gave off an eerie shimmer in the light of the night's new moon, they said, as if it was made of silver. Terrified, the 2 men grabbed a 20-gauge shotgun and a .22 rifle and fired at the little man, its hands now raised as if held up at gunpoint, as it came toward the back door. They reported that it did a flip, scrambled upright, and fled into the darkness. Shortly after, the men saw a similar creature appear in the side window, and fired through the window screen. Still impervious to bullets, the little man again flipped, then disappeared. I went out in the hallway and crouched down next to Billy when I saw one approaching the door, Miss Langford said, told Isabel Davis, author of an extensive report called Close Encounter at Kelly and Others of 1955. It looked like a 5-gallon gasoline can with the head on top and small legs. It was shimmering bright metal, like on my refrigerator. The drama escalated when Taylor stepped outside under the small overhanging roof, and those behind him saw a claw-like hand reach down and touch his hair. The group screamed and pulled Taylor back while Lucky shot above the overhang, and then at another similar creature in a nearby tree. It floated to the ground and scurried into the woods. The Suttons moved inside and spent several hours listening for movements, hearing mostly occasional scratches on the roof. At 11 p.m., the whole group ran for the cars and hightailed it to Hopkinsville Police Station at top speed. After the local police chief called for backup, his team was joined at the Sutton farm by state police, military police from nearby Fort Campbell, and a photographer from the Kentucky New Era. There, investigators found shell casings from the gunshots, but no other evidence. Neither could they find proof of heavy drinking. According to the Sutton matriarch, liquor was not allowed in the farmhouse. Once the police and others left, though, the creatures returned between 2:30 a.m. and daybreak. Mrs. Langford said she saw one glowing repeatedly by her bedside window, its claw-like hand on the screen. In the following days, after radio stations and newspapers, including the New York Times, reported the incident, hundreds of curiosity seekers descended on the farm, often ridiculing the Suttons as ignorant or fraudulent. When no trespassing signs proved useless at discouraging them, the family tried charging admission. 50 cents for entering the grounds, $1 for information, $10 for taking pictures. After that, skeptics blasted them as fortune-seeking fabulists. As the Kelly story spread into the world, it took on a life of its own. The number of little men grew to a dozen or more. A few years later, the little metallic men were conflated with an eastern Kentucky woman's report of a flying saucer and a 6-foot-tall man in green helping launch the myth of little green men. The day after the incident, police investigators returned to the farmhouse, searching for evidence of a saucer landing, footprints, blood trails, or scratch marks on the roof. They found nothing. Bud Ledwith, a local radio station employee, interviewed the adult eyewitnesses and made drawings based on their accounts. According to Davis, he was impressed by their remarkable specificity and consistency. Even though the men were away from the farmhouse all day, unable to coordinate with the others. While the incident eventually attracted the attention of the Air Force UFO investigation program, Project Blue Book, documents suggest that its team never officially pursued the matter, beyond checking in with their Fort Campbell counterparts who had been briefly at the scene of the first night. One of the most thorough investigations of the Kelly incident was undertaken in 1956 by ufologist Isabel Davis, and later published several decades later by the Center for UFO Studies, a group founded by astronomer Dr. J. Allen Hynek, Project Blue Book's civilian investigator. Her nearly 200-page report, co-written with Ted Blocher, includes detailed maps, drawings, documentary records, summaries of similar accounts around the world, and interviews with several Sutton family members and police investigators. Davis summarized the latter's concern about the lack of physical evidence. But to her reckoning, none of the possible explanations, a deliberate hoax, a publicity play, group hallucinations, made sense. While questions arose about whether the young men were exaggerating, possibly fueled by the hidden stores of liquor, Davis's strong impression after meeting Mrs. Langford was one of a somber, no-nonsense matriarch who abhorred the limelight and had no reason to lie. None of the witnesses, Davis noted, had any history of making quote-unquote preposterous allegations. In 2006, Joe Nichols, senior researcher fellow of the International Committee for Skeptical Inquiry and a self-styled paranormal investigator, reviewed the accumulated evidence in an article entitled Siege of the Little Green Men, the 1955 Kelly, Kentucky incident. In it, he raised suspicion about what he called Billy Taylor's embroidered testimony. He matched Taylor's UFO sighting with similar reports from that day, which suggested a small meteor in the vicinity. As for the little men, Nichols floated an explanation used for other alien encounter stories. Owls. In particular, the great horned owl, aka the hoot owl, has long wings that can be mistaken for arms, along with talons, yellow eyes, long ears, and a round head that might also match the little men description. As for their metallic shine, Nichols suggests that they could have easily been reflecting moonlight. But while hoot owls are known, hoot owls are known to be active at dusk and extremely aggressive when defending their nest, some investigators question characterizations of the creatures as hostile. To some, their behavior that night in Kelly appeared to be simply curious. Excuse me. So yeah. It does appear that they might be owls. They can easily be mistaken. The talon, the claw that come down to touch the one guy in the head, could have definitely been an owl claw. But whatever happened out there, something happened. Something scared the shit out of this family, who are obviously mountain folk, hillbillies, whatever you want to call them. These type of people do not call the police. They 100% they go for their gun, and it gets handled from there. If they ever call the police, it's usually to say, "Hey, there's a dead body on my property. Come get it." So, whatever happened that night, I don't know if they were fighting aliens or not. But I think they, it could have been something at the beginning, was alien, and then turned into whatever these, little green men are. These goblins. But this is also the story that started the whole little green men movement in Hollywood and in ufology, and that this is what started it. So basically, you take it as you want to take it. I'm not necessarily the biggest believer in aliens, or extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call it. I believe it's very selfish of us as Earthlings or as humans to believe that there is no other life on any other planet in this vast galaxy that is out there. It's incredibly selfish of us to say there's no other life. There's no life on other planets. But have they visited us? Ooh, excuse me. Have they visited us? I couldn't tell you. But this appears to be whatever happened at the beginning may have been something, malicious, maybe something violent, maybe something very bad. But at the end of the day, I think they were owls. Moving on, this isn't necessarily a cryptid, but this is a weird incident. And we'll see what everybody thinks. But now we're going to talk about the Kentucky meat shower. The Kentucky meat shower was an incident occurring for a period of several minutes between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. on March 3rd, 1876, where what appeared to be chunks of red meat fell from the sky in a 100 by 50 yard, 90 by 45 meter, for anyone who lives outside of the United States, area near Olympia Springs in Bath County, Florida. Or Bath County, Florida, Kentucky. We're not doing Florida. There exist several explanations as to how this occurred and what the meat was. Although the exact type of meat was never identified, various reports suggested it was beef, lamb, deer, bear, horse, or possibly human. Despite the various theories, the exact cause of the Kentucky meat shower remains a subject of speculation and mystery. On March 3rd, 1876, a farmer's wife, Mrs. Crouch, was making soap on her porch when she reported seeing a piece of meat fall from the sky. She said she was 40 steps from her house when the meat started to slap on the ground. Mrs. Crouch and her husband believed the event was a sign from God. The phenomenon was covered by Scientific American, the New York Times, and other publications. Most of the pieces of meat were approximately 2 by 2 inches or 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. At least one was 4 by 4 inches, 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. Or the most appeared to be beef, But according to the first report in Scientific American, 2 men who tasted it judged it to be lamb or deer. There it is. Writing in the Sanitarian, Leopold Brandis identified the substance as nostoc. Nostoc, also known as star jelly, troll's butter, or star cherry, troll's butter, spit of the moon, fallen star, which is witch's butter, not to be confused with the fungi commonly known as witch's butter, and witch's jelly is the most common genus of the cyanobacteria, found in a variety of both aquatic and terrestrial environments. That may form colonies composed of filaments of moniliform cells in a gelatinous sheath of polysaccharides. Brandis gave the meat samples to the Newark Scientific Association for further analysis, leading to a letter from Dr. Alan McLean Hamilton appearing in the medical record and stating that the meat had been identified as lung tissue from either a horse or a human infant. The structures of the organ in these 2 cases being almost identical, the composition of this sample was backed by further analysis, with the 2 samples of the meat being identified as lung tissue, 3 as muscle, and 2 as cartilage. Enter the man with the best explanation for the shower of quivering flesh that we're probably ever going to get, Dr. L.D. Kastenbein, who wrote in an 1876 article, wrote in a 1876 edition of the Louisville Medical News that it was quite literally a coordinated bout of projectile vulture vomit. Having obtained a sample of his own, Kastenbein set fire to it and observed that it smelt distinctly of rancid mutton. The only plausible theory explanatory of this anomalous shower appears, to the person writing the article, to be that suggested by the old Ohio farmer, the disgorgement of some vultures that were sailing over the spot. From their immense height, the pest particles were scattered by the prevailing wind over the ground, he wrote. The variety of tissues discovered, muscular, connective, fatty, structureless, etc., can be explained only by this theory. 2 species of vulture are found in Kentucky, the black vulture and the turkey vulture, both of whom are known to projectile vomit their stomach contents as a way of either a defense mechanism or to make themselves light enough for flight. So yeah, just imagine walking outside your house and all of a sudden there's meat falling and hitting you. Basically, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs really happened. However, from the sound of it, it really does sound like it's explained, and it's explainable as vulture vomit. Although, how much did those vultures eat? So yeah, again, something that sounds more like a take my headphones off because it's starting to hurt a little bit. Almost sounds like something that is just easily explained. You know, it's not skepticism. It's just they're easily explained. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna go back to Louisville. As tales of Kentucky's gargoyle-like creature documented in headlines. There are many winged monsters, myths, and legends all over the world. There are vampires, gargoyles, and one you may never have heard of, Kentucky's own Demon Leaper. In the early 1900s, the nation got a taste of this Kentucky legend as it made its way into the New York Times. Here in Kentucky, historian and author David Domine explained, people looking up to spires for a number of generations have reported sightings of a strange gargoyle-like creature. A gargoyle-like creature, one of the most bizarre stories the Bluegrass has to offer. Some people thought it was one of the gargoyles on the spires that came to life, explained Domine. Gargoyles perched on the side of the Victorian Gothic Walnut Street Baptist Church, built around 1902, seemed to peer over the sidewalks, keeping watch over the parishioners and the neighborhood. The Demon Leaper seems to have attributes much like these same gargoyles perched along the church's rooftop. It's a bat-like creature with leathery skin, wings, claws, and talons, and it's been seen to hop along the roof. Domine creatively described. The creature was often seen off on the roof of Walnut Street Baptist Church, but its wings gave it the ability to travel and to fly. So it's been on other structure rooftops as well. They call it the Demon Leaper. They call it Demon Leaper. It's perhaps one of our most famous legend in old Louisville, Domine stressed. Louisville's Demon Leaper was famous enough that on September 12, 1880, the accounts of the creature made its way into the headlines of the New York Times. An aerial mystery, it read. The Courier Journal and the Madisonville Times also kept track of the winged creature. The Courier Journal reported that people downtown were terrorized by what they call an agile monkey. Some people say he was wearing a kind of shiny suit. Other people say it was his skin that was shining. And a lot of people refer to him as Kentucky's Mothman, Domine further explained. The so-called Mothman was first sighted in West Virginia, 1966. He was described as a man with wings. The eerie figure was close to 7 feet tall with bright, fiery eyes. And for some sightings of the Mothman, coincide with reports of disaster or strange events. Kentucky's winged creature seems to bring fear wherever he appeared, but no doom or disaster. Well, how could you compare him to the Mothman then? Domine smiled as he explained, for the most part, he's pretty harmless from what I can tell. He's never really hurt anyone. He would poke people and scratch people. Tales of strange winged creatures in this part of the country, go back to Native American legend and possibly halfway around the world. This ties into something across the pond in Great Britain that was known as Spring Hill Jack. It was a capped figure. People didn't know if it was a man or a beast that would terrorize people in London. When he started to fade out in London, all of a sudden we started getting reports of him in the United States, Domine said. In London, he first appeared in 1837, but years later, a similar winged creature appeared in Old Louisville. So, basically, it sounds either there's somebody was up there fucking around in a suit, or one of the gargoyles came to life. Or people are just seeing the gargoyles up there and they're getting a little confused because they are pretty high up there. It's a large church. But could the Demon Leaper, or I guess Louisville's Spring Hill Jack, be real? I'll leave it up to you guys. moving on, we get our first, and I believe this is our only one. There are a few lake monsters, but I think I only went with one. And that is the Harrington Lake eel pig. So this is an artist's drawing of the eel pig. So back in 1925, Kentucky Utilities set out to build a dam by flooding the Dix River, a tributary of the Kentucky River. The resulting dam would be known as Dix Dam, and the soon-to-be-created lake would forever be known as Lake Harrington. At the time, the dam was regarded as a major engineering accomplishment, as it was the largest earth-filled dam at the time. Upon completion of the dam, Lake Harrington filled up and took on a maximum depth of 249 feet, making it the deepest lake in Kentucky, and covered 2,335 acres, nearly 4 miles. Like every large man-made lake in North America, Lake Harrington is known as an excellent spot for fishing. The lake contains a high number of different species of fish, including catfish, hybrid striped bass, crappie, and bluegill. But there is said to be one aquatic creature in the lake that many fishermen hope to never encounter face to face. A creature known as eel pig. Almost immediately after the creation of the lake, people from the surrounding area claimed to see the eel pig swimming within. The creature is most often described as roughly between 15 feet long, with a body like that of an eel and a skin tone / pattern reminiscent of a speckled fish. It is said to be as fast as a boat at times and also possess a stubby pig-like snout and a somewhat curly tail, which are both seen poking above the water when the creature is in the rest area, or when the creature is in the area. While many people have claimed to see eel pigs since the 1920s, the creature's existence was thought of as possible until a sighting wasn't thought of as possible until a sighting was made in 1972 by University of Kentucky professor Lawrence S. Thompson, who owned a lake home on Harrington. Thompson stated that he had seen the eel pig swimming around the area on multiple occasions, and that after his many sightings, the species of the creature remained unknown. Upon hearing the news that a university professor had witnessed a monster in the lake, the newspaper, the Louisville Courier, made quick work of setting up an interview, asking the professor if he truly believed that he had seen what he had seen was a real monster. Thompson responded by saying it's only a monster in the sense that one would call an alligator a monster, if they had ever seen one before. While sightings of the eel pig are said to continue, there have been no sightings as prominent as Professor Thompson's in 1972. This means that for over 92 years, nobody has figured out what the monster is or was. There are, however, many theories as to what the eel pig could be. These range from the always outrageous to the possibly believable. Some people claim that during the flooding of the Dix River, Kentucky Utilities inadvertently opened a passage to a series of underground limestone caves in which this species of eel pig already existed. That is very believable, very plausible. Congratulations. Others think that the monster is actually a prehistoric relic that originally lived in the Mississippi River but made its way down to the Kentucky River while following a food source. The monster then became trapped in Lake Harrington after Dix Dam was built. Both interesting and entertaining theories, but realistically improbable, according to this author. Other more grounded theories include possibly misidentified alligator, gar, or a fish species, a real pig that was seen swimming in the lake, and misidentified as a monster, or a simple prank that took on a life of its own, or an out-of-place alligator. While it is easy to laugh off at first, it should be noted that out-of-place alligators often turn up in unlikely places across multiple states, because people try to take the little itty-bitty baby ones as pets. And then when it grows up and becomes the monster that, the man-eaters that they are, well, not really man-eaters, but the carnivores that they are, now it's time to get rid of them. While it is easy to laugh off at first, it should be noted that out-of-place alligators often turn up in unlikely places across the multiple states. It is really not that hard to believe that an alligator made its way to Mississippi, made its way up the Mississippi River, and eventually down the Kentucky River into Lake Harrington. Most ample food sources with no natural competition in an area can lead animals down many strange paths that they might not originally go. While the eel pig may seem like nothing but a local legend or funny story to some, others feel it is a legit living creature that has just not been identified yet. Like most other lake monsters and river monsters, this one also draws a line between believers and non-believers. Whatever it is, though, it doesn't seem to be bothering anybody and simply enjoys life, living its life unbothered in the cold water, dark water of Lake Harrington. So, yeah. Yeah, you live in Texas, though. That's probably a common thing. About as common as it is in Florida. Just go outside to your pool and there's a freaking alligator in it. I'm thinking it's just a species of fish that got mislooked at. It's probably a huge fish. Could be a sturgeon. I don't know if sturgeons are freshwater or not, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's just a type of fish that just people didn't recognize or something. But that is the only lake monster we're going to deal with. So let's go ahead and we are going to get into what do I got here? Okay. So we're going to get into our final cryptid. And of course, it's the star of the show, or star of many shows. It is the one cryptid that is in every single state, I believe. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Bigfoot. So in Bigfoot, Bigfoot sightings are common. They're kind of common in Kentucky, and the state is considered one of the most active areas east of the Mississippi River for Bigfoot sightings. Some say that because with Kentucky's terrain is ideal for Bigfoot, and with the cornfields and the grass and the plateaus, and then the thickly wooded hollows between. Others say Kentucky's history of Bigfoot sightings dates back to the 1800s. Maybe even further than that, I guess. I don't know if they have any recorded Bigfoot sightings after that, because there are people out there that believe that Bigfoot could possibly be an Indian curse. There's some people out there that believe, we talk about this every episode. Some people believe that Bigfoot could possibly be an alien or an extraterrestrial. A lot of people believe that he could be an ancient Indian curse or an ancient Indian god. I'm more on the side of it could be just a species of mammal we've never discovered. Whatever it is, it's very good at hiding. So according to cryptologist Ava Martinez, two of the most well-known locations associated with Bigfoot are Mammoth Cave National Park and the Red River Gorge. Of the 398 reported sightings, Kentucky Bigfoot reports that only 85 have been both visual and included either audio of Bigfoot or Bigfoot tracks. And if you also notice, every state calls it something different. Kentucky, they call Bigfoot the hillbilly beast of Kentucky. The hillbilly beast of Kentucky, also called the hillbilly beast, is a Kentucky urban legend similar to Bigfoot that reportedly roams the hills of eastern Kentucky near the Ohio River. The hillbilly beast of Kentucky is supposedly 8 to 10 feet tall and weighs over 800 pounds. The hillbilly beast of Kentucky also reportedly has black eyes that glow orange during the night and vocalizes using shouts and banging on trees. It shares the rest of its features with the aforementioned Bigfoot. So yeah, it's, you know, like I said, everyone, I think up here it's called like, what was it, grass monster or something. I think in Florida they call them skunk ape. But everybody has a different word, you know, different title for Bigfoot. So what I've done is I've gone and I've gotten a few Bigfoot. I got a couple articles, and then I got some reports. Some of the base I brought, I've got the KentuckyBigfoot.com up, and I've got a bunch of the reports for there. But first, we're going to go back in history a little bit. Because there's an account from Daniel Boone of his encounter with what he called a Yahoo, or the Ozark Howler. But in reality, it could possibly be a Bigfoot. I'm going to read this article as long as it's interesting. It's a very long article, so. Well, sure. Any hunter who spends as much time in the woods as Boone is going to run across some weird critters, right? This is from Frontier Partisans, by the way. Now hunters have also been known to tell a tall tale or two as well. So I guess we take our choice. Boone's fine biographer John MacFarriger recounts a tale from late in the long hunter's storied life. Tradition said that Boone visited Limestone about that time, staying with his cousin Jacob Boone, a prominent merchant in the town. Boone had supposedly come downriver after visiting his son Jesse at Greenupsburg, and was honored at a gala dinner that included all of the distinguished local citizenry. After the meal, one of the men asks Boone for a story, and he begins a tale, but is interrupted by a man who claims that his story is impossible. With this remark, Boone shuts up, and despite urgings that he continue, he refuses to speak further. Later that evening, when he has retired to the room, he shares with his son of the tavern keep. With the son of the tavern keeper, the boy asked him in silence, "I dislike to be in a crowd," Boone explains. The boy asks him about his silence. "I dislike to be in a crowd," Boone explains, "and would not have opened my lips had that man remained." "Well, we are alone now," says the boy, and he presses the old man to tell the story. "You shall have it, honey," says Boone, who has taken a fancy to him, and proceeds to tell him of killing a 10-foot hairy giant he called a Yahoo. The Yahoos were giant beasts in human shape from Boone's favorite book, Gulliver's Travels. It was a tall tale that Boone repeated to a number of people during his last year, one such as he would have told in a winter camp. Boone and his company of long hunters regularly read from Gulliver's Travels during his original 1769 to 1770 long hunt into Kentucky. I've always got a kick out of the image of Boone in the wilds of what would become the Bluegrass state, packing the best-selling fantasy yarn of his era. Lulbergrud Creek in Kentucky was named by the Boone Long Hunt Party, a corruption of Swift's Long Lorbegrud. I am not German. From the U.S. Forest Service history of the Boone National Park. Let's see, making sure does this have anything to do with. In addition to killing a Yahoo, Boone is reported to have a couple of encounters with the Ozark Howler after he left Kentucky for lands across the Mississippi and Missouri. So yeah, that's according to this article, it was a tall tale. It was a tall tale that Daniel Boone would tell people at parties and things like that, even though he didn't like to speak, in public and that. So let's see. I know I got another article here. Let's do this one real quick. I'm trying to find this one article that I know I have. Give me a second, guys. I'm sorry. So I don't have this article anymore for some reason. But let me get this ready to go. So basically what the article was about, I don't know what I've done with the article, but the article was about was a sighting in Kentucky that was captured on camera. It could very possibly be explained, but I'll let you guys decide. I do have the video. Let me put it in a different window to make it a little easier so we can all watch it together. One moment, guys. There we go. This is called it's called the Bigfoot Eye Shine. This guy was essentially filming in his yard, or I guess out in the woods. I don't know if he's a Bigfoot hunter. I think he might be a Bigfoot hunter from the sound of it. And essentially gets these eyes staring back at him. Some people call them, some people were basically saying that it's an owl. Others are saying that it's Bigfoot, but let's go ahead and take a look at this really quickly. Go ahead and we'll get the video started. The Bigfoot Eye Shine via the BRFO. Let me put my headphones back on so I can hear the video with you guys. Hopefully you guys can hear it. But here it goes. Let's go back in them. Hopefully it's expanded like it's on here. I really don't know. There's the eyes right off in the distance. They could very well be. Let me turn the volume of the video down. They could very well be an owl, but because as you can see, they stay around filming the same. There it is again. So there you go. There's the video. We'll stop sharing the screen. I can't tell you. It's a little too dark. I don't see anything for an owl to be perched on. I did watch another video from, I think his name is Phil Barackman or Cliff Barackman. My buddy in Ohio who is a Bigfoot enthusiast, Bigfoot hunter, you would say. Very credible. He's been on the Travel Channel. He's been featured on Coast to Coast AM, and he's also been on Coast to Coast AM. He's been on the Discovery Channel talking about his encounters. And he travels the country talking at Bigfoot cons and stuff like that. But it's I don't know. That's the thing, guys. I watching Cliff Barackman's video, and I'll try to put a link in the comments. Of he went basically, he saw the video and he's playing the video and he tries to match it up as best as he can. There's where whatever the eyes were coming from, there was no there was nowhere for an owl to be perched. It does look like an owl. I'm not gonna tell you it doesn't. It does look like an owl. But it does. I just don't see where it could be perched. They tried to recreate it in that. I think they decided it was almost like 8 feet 9 inches off the ground. But there was nothing for it to be for an owl to be perched on, unless and the owl was clinging to the tree itself. But it could very well be either one. Again, I'll let you guys, decide for yourself if you think it's real or not. If you think it's an actual evidence or not. So let's see. We'll go ahead. We'll do some reports real quick from the area, and then we'll call it a night on the Kentucky Cryptids. The first one, I've got Rowan County up here. Their last report was Ghost Hunt Weekends Expedition, May 10th of 2015, 10:46 p.m. in Moorhead. Location is Cave Run Lake, trails off dam parking lot. Witnesses were Charlie Raymond, team leader, and about 15 participants. Charlie Raymond writes, "We broke up into 3 teams, each taking a trail. As soon as my team entered the bottom of the trail to the right, we heard 2 very loud home run knocks. I radioed the other teams to see if they made them unannounced, and they said no. We tried to knock back, but no reply. After about 10 minutes, Jody Cook's group, Middle Trail, announced they would make a howl. Our group heard it loud and clear. Then almost immediately from their direction, we heard movement coming towards us. A series of amazing whoops. The whoops sounded like a young chimp moving rapidly in distress. Whoop, whoop, whoop. It moved across the trail in front of us, from left to right, towards a large hollow on our right, maybe 100 yards in front of us. We all stopped and listened in astonishment. Everyone in my group heard them. It made 11 whoops total. We then continued cautiously down the trail. A few minutes later, a very loud thud hit the embankment on our right, stopping us all in our tracks. We did not hear whatever it was fly through the air, nor roll down the embankment afterwards. It sounded like a watermelon-sized rock and was dropped on the ground. I've heard this thud on other investigations, and unfortunately, we did not have a thermal imager with us. These were the best whoops I've ever heard in person or recorded." So that's pretty it's pretty common, to hear the whoops and have rocks thrown at you and things like that. So yeah, that's why a lot of people get excited, especially my buddy Mike, who was part of the Ohio Night Stalkers, said, no, he used to tell me all the time, that is one of their big things is when they get the rocks, rocks are thrown at them, they know that something's close by. The rocks are kind of like the warning shots you would, like, if you get too close to someone's like farm or something like that, how they'll pop a shot over your head as a warning shot. The rocks being thrown at you are kind of like warning shots of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them, warning you to get the fuck away. We'll stick around here in Rowan County. Family observes large creature drinking water. This is in October 6th of 2013, 6:50 p.m., also in Moorhead. Highway 801 near Cave Run Lake. Witnesses Jack and family. The encounter was, I received a phone call this evening at 6:12, October 7th, 2013, from a witness who observed a Bigfoot-like creature at Cave Run Lake as he was driving from Highway 1274 north towards Highway 60. He just came over a hill, and that's when he noticed a very dark brown/black figure kneeling by the water. It had a human-shaped head, but 2 to 3 times larger than a human's head. It did not have a muzzle or ears on top of its head. He stressed it was definitely not a bear, and it was definitely not a person. He had a very clear view of the creature as it was only about 50 feet from the road and the driver's side. Jack slowed down to look at it as he passed it. So the sighting lasted about 30 seconds. The hair was long, about 3 to 4 inches, and uniform in color throughout, very dark brown or black. It had a large upper torso and large arms. It never looked up at the car, and it appeared as it was either getting a drink or getting something out of the water. The witness explained to me that he has been a private investigator for 30 years, so he is trained to pay attention to detail. He also mentioned that the lake had been closed due to the government shutdown, so there are no boaters, hikers, or campers in the area. Jack also said after seeing the creature that it kept him up all night just thinking about it. So, I don't know if it's just me. I would stop. I would stop and watch. Stop and look, Try to grab a picture or something. Let's see. Trying to see some more recent encounters. Here's one from 2021 in Anderson County. The Crooked Creek. Oh, that's October of 99. Where is the one I was looking for? Okay, I see what that is now. Give me a second to bring up the counties again. Here you go, new reports. See, let's go to Caldwell County and see what they got. So, witnesses, this is Caldwell Creatures. The witness's name is Penny. Date was over a 10-year period starting back in 2012. Mostly at night after 11 p.m., one daytime incident in Princeton, Kentucky, off of Highway 293. The witness is an elderly female who lives alone in a farmhouse. Over the last 7 years, suspected Bigfoot activity has been taking place on her farm, particularly during the spring into the early summer. In approximately 2015, the witness was outside in late evening, almost dark, feeding her cats and her neighbor's horses when she saw movement at the nearby woodline. She then saw a very large brownish-black upright figure standing watching her. The figure was constantly swaying back and forth and was covered in what appeared to be a wool-like fuzzy hair, almost as if it was wearing a huge fur coat. The witness then saw what she believed to be a large eye shine as the figure turned. It began walking away from her hastily. The witness stated she was surprised by how the figure seemed to be smoothly gliding rather than bouncing or bobbing as it walked. In approximately 2017, The witness had her grandson visiting her home. While the boy was playing in the yard, he located the witness inside her house and indicated he was hearing loud, scary screams from the woods behind the house. As they both walked back outside, the witness heard loud howling/moaning screams coming from the direction of the woods, which sounded exactly like Bigfoot calls she had heard on the television multiple times before. Now, let me also state real quick that a lot of times, especially the skeptics, will they will say that, Bigfoot howls kind of sound like coyotes. And we do have coyotes in the area. Here in Ohio, we have coyotes, and I'm pretty sure down in Kentucky, they also have coyotes up in the woods. In approximately 2019, the witness had a female neighbor in her mid-30s visiting her home. When the neighbor commenced the short walk back to her own residence, both females heard a combination of howling, growling, and howling from the direction of the woods. Both females had their pet dogs alongside them, and the noise seemed to be sending the animals into a frenzy. The witness further noted that her cats seemed to be on high alert, running around in a panic. The witness received a phone call from the same neighbor who indicated that she believed there was two sets of howls and screams coming from two different directions, both of which were behind the house. The neighbor suggested it may have been a nearby relative acting silly by trying to howl like a wolf from the woods in an attempt to startle the females. The witness also stated that at the time she had hollered out to the woods, "I know it's you trying to scare us, and you don't even sound like a real wolf. Stop that." At that moment, she heard what sounded like a bunch of coyotes alongside the original howler, and the howls changed into a long, scary, moaning sounds. Both ladies then retreated into their homes. In 2021, the witness had what she described as her scariest incident to date. One of her adopted cats had wandered into the woods, which caused her to go looking for the animal. As she entered the woodline, everything suddenly went quiet. The frogs stopped croaking, and the sounds of crickets went silent. Everything was silent. As the witness stood listening, she felt this overwhelming urge to immediately leave, and in her mind heard the words, "Go away." The witness instantly turned and left in fear, because that's what you do when you hear the words "go away." All right, now for the follow-up. I called and spoke with the witness on the evening of Friday, April 3rd, 2022 at approximately 4 p.m. Central Time. I found the witness to be very well-spoken Christian lady, down to earth and with a sharp mind. She appeared to remember all the incidents down to the most minor details. She was both excited and maybe a little afraid as she shared her experiences. And as a result of her experiences, she firmly believes these creatures are migrating or moving through her area each spring and early summer due to the increase of activities during those times. I conducted a Google Maps search, which clearly indicated her home is surrounded by several huge tracts of large forested areas, providing miles of woodline cover with several lakes, ponds, and creeks, providing a good source of water sustenance. I obtained the phone number of the female neighbor in order for follow-up for inquiries to be conducted at a later date. In addition to this investigation, I also recently visited the home of a middle-aged man in the same county who stated he had heard loud howling screams and growls from behind his house. As Google Maps search revealed, these two separate witnesses are within a very close proximity of each other, and both heard sounds from the direction of the other's home. I find this information both very exciting and ironic. My opinion is that the witness is having visits from more than one Bigfoot as they travel through her home area. Don Bigfoot Neal. That would be absolutely terrifying. There's many, many other reports from Kentucky here. Look up your state's Bigfoot. If you're really interested in Bigfoot, look up your state's Bigfoot reports. Your state's Bigfoot research organization. And you'll get a lot of information. But guys, we've been going for about 2.5 hours. We're gonna call it there. We have one more thing to do though. Hold on, I forgot about this. Let me bring it up. Boop. We have to choose our next. We have to choose our next state that we are going to do we choose the next state we're going to do for our next episode. Let me give it a couple of practices real quick. All right, we're ready to go. So let's go ahead. Let me bring you guys back up so I can share my screen so you guys can watch in excitement. We will see what we are going to do. Which state we're going to do next. Are we ready? Let's do it. And the lucky winner is going to be Mississippi. We are going further south. So on the next episode of Shivers, when we do the cryptids, we are going to be heading down to Mississippi for the Cryptids of Mississippi. Keep a lookout for the episodes. I'm going to try to do these at least once a month. Hope you guys enjoy what we've been doing here this week. As always, you can find me at the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast on YouTube, on Facebook, on X. You can also email me at bloodybinge@gmail.com for all of your movie suggestions or even some Shiver suggestions. Who knows? I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to do the Cryptids of Mississippi next month, but when we do Cryptids again, it's going to be Mississippi. I might decide to do something else, maybe some more paranormal, maybe some true crime. We'll see what's going on. But I want to thank everybody who participated, everybody who tuned in today. Thank you for tuning in. You can also find me on TikTok at Sewer Dweller, Twitch at Sewer Dweller 78. Again, I'm not very active on there. I gotta get back. I gotta get a little more active on there again. Don't forget next Friday coming up on the podcast we are doing on Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. We are doing Igor and the Lunatics from 1978. From 1978, it's going to be a blast. It's a cult movie, not really horror, but it's a cult movie that's got a lot of weird shit in it. So we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking, of course, as it is the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. We will also be updating the at least the horror movie news. If I can't find any haunt news, we'll go ahead and we'll keep doing the paranormal news because I have fun doing the paranormal news and the weird shit that's going on in the world. We'll talk about stuff like that. At some point, I'm gonna try to get the wrestling podcast going again. At the minimum, at least Hardcore Heels, where we go back and we deep dive the history of professional wrestling. I know our next episodes, we talked about it already. The next episodes are going to be the first 3 episodes of Monday Night Raw. We'll do those here shortly because with Monday Night Raw, WWE starting a brand new era on Netflix. And with the amazing ratings they did on Netflix this past week, I'm interested. I want to start from the beginning. Plus, we're coming up on the 32nd anniversary of the first episode of Monday Night Raw. So we'll be doing that. We got a lot of stuff coming up. Good night, Jen. Hope you guys have a great night. Hope you guys aren't getting this white stuff down there in Texas like we are. I think it's stopped here. We were only supposed to get like 2 or 3 inches. But it's already screwing up the roads. I know my wife was out door dashing and she's already come home because she said she was getting stuck. And she's got a Ford Explorer, so yeah. But guys, we have a lot of stuff coming up on the podcast, on everything. Keep a lookout on the Owlite Network as well. No snow there yet. Oh, you guys are lucky. Jen, are you guys doing the Tomb of the Terrible this week? Are you guys going to be able to do that, or do we know yet? Or is that wait and listen? Or do you guys have anything coming up this weekend you'd like me to promote? I know with my not yet. Okay, we don't know what's going on with that yet. I know there's been some difficulties with that, so keep a lookout on the Owlite Network Facebook page. Also, if you like any of the other shows, I guess we got Corpse Garden Greeds coming up. Is that today or tomorrow? Or is that going to be Sunday? We'll wait for her to respond. It's probably a delay between me and this. But yeah, there's a lot coming up. You got Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. We got Igor and the Lunatics. We've still got House Squatch this month. So it is going to be tonight. New story, Lyra's Visitation. So tune in here, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I believe it's 9 p.m. Eastern. To the Corpse Garden Reads and join Jen, our girl Friday, maybe a couple of guests as they read Lyra's Visitation. So make sure you guys tune into that. Make sure you guys tune in again next Friday, as every Friday, at 4 o'clock for Bloody Binge. And support the networks, support my YouTube page. I would love to get some more YouTube likes on there. You can find me again on YouTube at the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. You can find everything, also any of the shows, any of your favorite shows, on the Owlite Network, on the Owlite Network YouTube page, or the Owlite Network Facebook page. So I believe I've done enough promoting, guys. Have a great day. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And as always, be good to each other, I think. Yeah. So as always, guys, have a great weekend. Be good to each other. And as always, watch more horror movies. Good night.